The Ring of Dainth Arduin, Book 16. The gathering host battles along the coast. Justice, that great ideal by which all men dream, is of two sorts. That meagre shadow which men give to themselves, oft false and twisted, that one may stand taller. For what is truth among men? What is real to creatures who know fear more than they know love? To the utmost violence they press their vision, to the ruination of the truth, and with it justice. But there is the other, the justice which is formed from the truth, the law that formed creation, set to judge all which passes beneath the light, which does not bend and does not break, which holds ever to give as decreed by the truth. What is a man to hope for? That meagre part which he gives to himself, or the law which was set above him, but which he cannot understand until it is time for his judgment, when all his works and deeds are ended, all that is left for a man to do, when he yearns for justice and right dealing among his fellows, is to hope and hold himself as high as he can, else he is destroyed. The youth Domnall lay weeping beside the river, until the sun grew weary, and the tears came no longer to his eyes. So cruel it seemed to him that the daughter of light be punished by the strange baith. The child orphaned in treachery betrayed by what little blood remained. That they would live, yet she could not. Trapped in bonds he did not understand. Egil made no effort to comfort him or move them on. He went instead to collect the looted wealth and prepare for returning, only when his companion was ready. Night was falling and the full moon rising. Only when the moon's light shone over all the lands did the youth realize its hands on him. Domnall dared not move, remembering the taboo which was placed upon him, for a single motion of his muscles may be enough to break those laws set upon him and let doom fall on his people. He had no tears left in him, and the racks of grief which had shaken him left him exhausted, battling to stay awake, kneeling and awake through the night entire, for to sleep was to risk falling forward and moving by the light of the full moon. Nothing would he risk when the Eolish stood to be lost in all time. Thus he remained silent sentinel until the night died and the sun rose over the Isle Malach. At first light he fell to the earth, asleep. He awoke with a start, for the world seemed to rock back and forth, and he thought he had become delirious from grief and fatigue. But in returning to the waking world he found himself sat upon a horse, the other led along beside him. Egil walked in front, a bold song from beyond the waters on his lip, as he led the horses with one hand and carried a heavy bag of stolen treasure in the other. Slowly they seemed to go, round the southern edge of the Isle Kelrose, and as they went the song would change, but Egil did not look back to see that his companion had awoken, Domnall grateful for the rest. He passed the day listening to the songs of Egil, some bawdy, some yearning, some dark as the cruel false gods of his home. As Domnall listened, he wondered, for though he travelled the land, bleeding and fighting on the journey to find that which belonged to his people, so they might live in safety for all time, he knew not what their lives would be should they regain their land. Would they once again fall into violence and need, dividing again into their tellas, and seeking to stand alone once more? Would they once more be ruled by greedy men, more attentive to gaining fame than the safeguarding of their people, as all Teloch save the great Malach had been? What use was it to be free from the sea raiders if they returned to the same darkness they lived in before? No answers had he, no future certain, no path forward, but to run at the utmost of his strength until he held that which was hidden from him. Night fell, but the moon was no longer full, and he felt not the fear that lived in him when he was beneath its light. Egil stopped the horse as the light faded, and turning to see his companion awake, smiled. The song on his lips changed to a joyous one. He sang as he set their camp, and when the song was finished, Egil slid easily into conversation. All that was taken has been recovered, excepting only the lives lost to those bandits. But these cannot be recovered, not by our means. When we return to our welcome, we shall shake the very earth. I will be given lands, and you shall earn your freedom from thraldom, perhaps be permitted into the guard of the king himself, for no ordinary warrior are you. I doubt the berserkers could slay you, and they battle with the strength of 10 men, or even the power of the great brown beasts we name as bears, for to speak their name proper is to summon them. Yet before we get to the great hall of our king, there are things which I do not understand, and I wish to know the truth before I deliver you to the king Ragnaros. The final warrior, whose name was Harold, and who slew his fellows by the notion that they serve his enemy, yet himself served one far crueler, spoke of a special fate set upon you, one which might change the land forever. What has set this to you, and where shall that leave my people, who have come to make their home in this wide green land? The youth looked at him sharply, thinking of where his weapon was, as it seemed this moment lay on a blade's edge, that the pair of hunters would fall upon each other so soon after completing their hunt, battling over the spoils. And when he answered slowly, I am a child of this land, born into the great green isle where my people and yours now live. Yet this isle is a cursed isle, for many years ago a great king lived, and at his wedding there were many gifts, including that of his great boon. This gift was given him by the wise man of Isle Meloch, but in its giving the wise man was foolish. He, the king, and a hero of that age laid 3 curses upon it, that it never fall into hands not made to rule the green island, that only his blood could wear the ring on their finger, and bolster the isle by its power. To all others the ring would bring many great things, but betray them to excess. Any man who claimed this boon outside that blood was doomed to die an unnatural death, and often these deaths are swift and bloody. This boon is currently out of the hands of the blood which can rightfully claim it, and thus the isle is reduced to chaos and war, for the Aeolish cannot have peace when it is held in hands that are outside the great king's line. I have asked her, who is the only to claim rightfully that boon, to take what I find and restore the peace which has long been absent from this isle. This she will not do freely, for the boon is a pain to her, cursed by reckless dreaming, and carries the memory of the dead, and she has laid upon me many taboos which I must not break if she is to take the boon from me. I will follow these to my ending, and she will take the boon when I have it, and peace will return to my people. This is my task. What happens to your people when peace reigns entire throughout the island, I know not, but I do not think that cruel kings will remain on the Green Isle. The youth explained to the warrior, and when he ended he tensed his legs, prepared for a sudden violence, but it did not come. Once the youth had spoken, the warrior Egil simply shrugged, answering him in his usual manner. A man must look after his people, though never in all my travels have I heard that the Aeolish are one people. Yet we shall see what remains when the storm subsides. Perhaps we will be forced back to our cold home, or a single Daona will remain as king of this fair isle. Yet you I count my blood brother, and shall tell none of your works, for you have let me keep my honor, and pursued by my side bandits who had done you no harm for my sake. I will give what I can to you. Fear nothing from me. The next day they traveled far. The horses carried the bags, and the pair went beside them, returning to the lands of King Ragnaros, where they were greeted to much celebration. They were taken before his mighty throne, which he had taken from the sons of Balon. Egil was given many thralls and lands for them to live in, and to the youth was given thaindom. A free man was he, no longer a thrall. The king gave to him a sword named Gift, and asked that he join his warriors, granting a small farm not far from the waters where he might live. This Domnall took, and vowed to serve the king as long as his kingdom stood. Great was the feasting of that time. Mead was drunk in rivers, and meat eaten in hills. The brothers Ethelred and Aedmund drank with him, and in the halls which once belonged to Eolish alone, now feasted both the Eolish and Daona together, thanes and thralls in both numbers. As the night drew on, the youth grew weary, and stumbled into the cold air of the night, eager for relief, going some way from the hall. Yet as he did, a mist descended, thick and cold, until the night sky was hidden, and those creatures which sing to the moon were hushed. In some far distant room of his mind, the youth was startled by the falling mist, but the mead ruled him, and he could do naught but kneel unsteady and peer into the rolling fog, his senses strained against the pounding of his mind. Light came to him, not from the moon and stars, but from light flies, sparking their yellow light against his skin. At the sight of these he relaxed, sitting down on the earth and waiting for the one he knew was coming. She came as a thunderstorm, the mists billowing about her, the light thrown by the flies blinding, and the crickets and beetles gave a great trumpet at her coming. She stood before him, in that same white dress which she ever went in, her face a mask, as though she saw some far-off place and not that before her. The youth scrambled to his feet as she spoke. "Child, I have come to this place to give you that which you will need as the days pass and fate draws nearer. I give to you that gift imbued with the same magic of the air, named the Plochchara Gwyn Eolethalia, guise of the free wind, worn before by one warrior only. Wear it, and the wind shall take you for his own, carrying you in his arms far from danger. Take it with you, and keep it about you always. Throw it over yourself to escape all harm, but wear it beneath a dark cloak, that none discover it. You have kept your faith with me, and this is why you are given that which once belonged to one greater." He took the cloak and draped it over his shoulders, feeling warmed as soon as he wore it. Ilulian turned to leave, the light flies flickering and fading, but the youth could not stand to see her leave, not when he knew the pain set upon her shoulders. He pleaded with her, tears breaking his voice. "Daughter of heart and hind, I have been told things which I hope to be but lies, spoken by a vile man who thought to serve a master cruel and revenge himself against his own people. But if these words have in them truth, then they are the most horrible I have ever known. I know not how I shall have the strength to face the sunrise. There is rumor that the Baith took you beneath the isle and worked strange magic upon you. Ilulian Finnewan, daughter of the dawn, tell me that you are unchained, you who are the true ruler of our people, you who are gifted with such powers by the blood which runs in you. Tell me that you do not suffer, that the isle is not held above the waters by this treachery." Ilulian only looked back at him, seeing him with eyes unclouded, and tears lived there. The cold mask twisted by the pain of watching long days past ever before them. Tears fell to the earth, and where they fell, bitter thorn bushes rose fully formed. She turned, the light flies vanishing, the mist rolled up and melted into the night. The beetles changed their songs from glorious praise to calmed calling. Ilulian was gone. Drunk and weeping, the youth fell exhausted to the earth. He dreamt of a storm battering the lands below with fury unmatched, breaking boulders and lifting trees from their root. Lightning burned the earth below as thunder roared across the heavens. Red rivers ran, and the land was ravaged. All fled before the churning storm, all save one. A weak man rested upon a great stone and calmly watched the world-breaking storm without fear. On his head he wore a crown of hair, a tonsure cut plain, and he wore robes of such majesty they brought to shame the rags which the great kings hold court in, though they were but brown. This monk saw Domnall looking to him, and gave him a warm smile, and in a soothing voice he spoke. Such a storm has come, that no man here shall see greater, though he live 100 years. Its rain falls on you, boy. Only by strength can you come to see the sun rise unclouded. I have seen such a storm when I was among the living. I was once a duke of the proud city of Fizair, in distant lands of Ural. A powerful lord of a powerful city, many feared us. Yet our lands were invaded by a host 20,000 strong, an army larger than any ever seen before on this earth. We gave battle and fought until the blood ran freely from us and our spears were broken. Yet worse were our foes, many of whom were slain upon the field. They broke the walls of my home and seized it for their own, but they could not find me. I raised arms in the countryside and continued to give them battle. Years we fought, until at last we reclaimed our home. Yet by then I had seen such horrors that I could not reclaim my rightful seat, and left my people for the church, while they found a government which suited them best. You must survive the storm, not by throwing it back into the waters, but also by surviving yourself. I did not. I could not. The horrors of my wars left such a taste in my mouth that I could not eat or drink. Revolted I was by the mere movements of my body. I chose to come to the Isle of Scarmeline, that there beside the waves I might forget. For these reasons I am named Lorenzo the Wanting, and my advice to you is this: in your battles for victory against the storm, lose not yourself. The youth awoke the next day, his head split with pain, and his mind torn between sorrow and fear. Sorrow for all the pain which had descended upon his people, Illulian chief among them, and fear for the pain he was going to bring to them, that they might one day live free once more. He returned to the hall and began to serve the king Ragnaros. He faithfully served that king for 3 years, and was the favorite warrior of his. Close was he with the Aeolish warriors from beyond the sea, and Egil also. But Illulian he saw not in those years, and often when he was alone he would weep for her, thinking on her pain, trapped and unable to meet her death as she watched the lives of those she loved ended ever before her eyes. In many battles he fought, for the lands around were becoming wilder, learning the ways of Daona warfare and that of the Aeolish, until he could command armies with skill. King Svoren broke the lands of King Craukenbiter and took much of it for himself, but the mad dog king remained. Now master over the isle, though he could not break the walls of Tel Drim, the 2 kings of the west, Halvavar and Ragnaros, were afraid of the power of that king and once more renewed the bonds of their friendship. It was in the 5th year since the coming of the Daona dragon ships that the Dark King Svoren Blackfingers began his war against the kings of the west, coming just as spring turned to summer, and with a host numbering 5,000, made of both Daona axe warriors and Aeolish spear brothers. Quickly he took the hall of Halvavar Brightstone, but that king did not meet him in battle, taking all people and gold with him from his hall and journeying to the western reaches of his kingdom, where his host met with that of King Ragnaros, and together the 2 kings embraced, making their plans to turn back the force of Svoren Blackfingers. Together the kings could muster a host of 6,000, many more Aeolish in their number than Deona, men raised to serve masters in battle, not willing warriors, for they had already lost their homes. Set in their plan for defeating the king of the east, the host went forward to the lands which in days past belonged to the Unsalal, and from there they marched to the low hills named the Isle Bolam, where the hall of Halvar had once stood. They took the hills, finding the hall burned to the earth and the timbers humiliated by their foes' water, but no sign of the host which they followed. The kings were uncertain of where to go next, deciding that they would take their war to the home of their foe, gathering their strength and marching to the siege city of Dolbin. Though these kings were warriors used to battle across the waters, they were not skilled in war upon the land. They set no scouts and did not disguise their movements. They came to the tumbling waters of Aglach Ulmo and found no way to cross it, though they did not go looking far, else they would have seen the bridge made of a single living tree, which Ilulian had set over the water in years long past. Unable to find crossing due to foolishness, they set about making their own bridge, cutting many trees and setting a camp. It was here at last that the host of Svoren Blackfingers revealed itself, charging from the trees in well-ordered lines, slaughtering those who had gone to fashion a bridge. A great horn blow rent the air, calling all warriors forth to battle, and the youth came rushing to face the foemen. He held a shield, marked with his own colors of green and gold, an axe, and at his side was the sword Gift. Beneath his mail and cloak he wore the Plochchara Gwyn Eolathalia, which he had worn every day since last seeing Ilulian. Into the battle went the youth, and with his axe he felled mighty Deona trees. For as the years had passed he grew ever stronger. The rumor of his blade was as thunder. He drove into the host of Svoren Blackfingers, and about him the warriors of the two kings gathered, where elsewhere they fled or struggled to form their line. The knot of warriors around the youth was fierce, and as they slowly moved backwards, that they be not completely surrounded, they left behind them no place free of dead Deona. With great effort and the ever-blowing horns, the two kings were able to form themselves into a line, weak though it was. Domnall's knot before them, breaking the warriors coming as a rock jutting from beneath the waves. Yet the ferocity of the knot did not go unnoticed, and soon the greater part of Svoren's warriors threw themselves against it. Slower moved all the blades there as men tired, all save the axe of the youth. He stood at the very front of the knot, and moved with such swiftness that none of the warriors who came against him managed a swing of their blade or thrust of their spears. Against the youth came one who stood above all others, over 7 rella tall, and with strength enough to toss a bull. In his hands an axe cruelly carved. This was a berserker, fearsome warriors from Deona, which take the mushrooms of their home in a potion mixed with the blood of goats and the magic of their dark witches. This drink gives to them the power of a full-grown bear, strength they use to bring death to men. The strongest of them are said to become bears at the ingestion of the potion. The berserker came, and the youth met him, not wishing that axe fall upon any who fought at his side. He rushed to battle this warrior, and about him a circle formed, as both sides respected the single combat. The berserker swung first with a blow so mighty it might cut clean 100-year oak, but the youth was swift and avoided it. It left a deep gorge in the earth. As that blade was drawn for the next blow, it was answered with the hand-axe which Domnall wielded, scoring a cut across the leather of one arm and to the flesh beneath. But though the blow was well delivered, no blood came from it, for the effect of the potion the berserkers drink is to stop the blood from flowing freely. The next blow came suddenly, prepared as the arm was struck, and the youth avoided its fall only by throwing himself to one side, where the Daona kicked at him. Rising, the youth threw away the axe and drew the sword Gift from its sheath. Down came the berserker's axe in another swing, but Domnall was ready for it and spun away, giving 3 cuts before the berserker could ready the next blow. Only a faint trickle of blood flowed from the wounds, held in by the berserker's potion. The blow came, and the youth avoided it again, the axe blow coming so swift that the men behind could not escape the blade. 3 Daona warriors fell to that single stroke. The sword Gift was readied in the hand of Domnall, who knew that he could not hope to tire his foe, but must deal him his death blow with one strike, before he wearied and the axe found him. Red blood flew from the axe as the berserker swung his blade once more. In a low sweep it came, but the youth went lower before it, and did not come to harm. Yet he did not avoid the blow entire. It caught the helm upon its crest, and carried it from his head into those warriors watching. Domnall was on his feet still, unwounded and close to the giant warrior who was turning the blade in his hands to bring down death upon him. And knowing that spirit was close and eager, he drove the blade Gift into the heart of the berserker with all his might, dealing what should have been a death blow. Yet the warrior did not fall, and stood swaying, the blade buried to the hilt. The youth took that which was left to him, his shield of strongest oak, and threw it at the berserker's head. This was the blow which levelled the warrior, and when he lay stunned on the ground, the youth retrieved the shield before kneeling above the berserker and crushing his enemy beneath its banded oak. Single combat was won by the youth of Eoland, and he was permitted to take trophies from his fallen foe and return to his lines before the warriors renewed their battle. And though the youth was wearied by his fight with the berserker, he dutifully took his place in the line, guarding the flanks of his friends. Yet the battle was lost for the host of the 2 kings. So poorly did they lead their host into the waiting arms of Svoren. All that was left was the dying. The line buckled and broke, tossing all into confusion as the panic consumed the host. Domnall fought on, but saw clearly that the battle was lost. Beside him were the 2 brothers Eadmund and Ethelred, and these he told to gather as many Eolish as they could and fly south from there. Those that made it he would place beyond harm. Then he named his cloak. Into the air he went, launching himself in the wind, which caught him and carried him over the battle, for he was turned into the rainbow bird. His arms became wings as his armor blended into his form. Never before had he flown, trusting the power of Illulian to fly from war. Taking to the wind was as easy as walking, and the magic of the rainbow cloak permitted him to see the battle below as men small as ants slaughtered each other and stepped over the dead to bring more death to the world. All that one man might sit higher than his fellows. Never had he seen so sad a sight. As he flew, he saw the 2 brothers gather those warriors and move to the south, fighting their way through the chaos to reach there. The youth flew ahead. The living bridge of Illulian was not far from the battle. Already some of those in flight had crossed it into the lands beyond. Down came the youth, and when he stood on the ground once more, he returned to his natural form. There he set himself, resting and checking his arms before the battle would come to him. He found that the sword Gift was badly notched from dealing the berserker his death wound, as though the bones and ribs the blade plunged through were made of forged iron. He had still the shield which he used to slay the berserker, the blood of that warrior staining it, and also a short axe and the great blade which his foe had wielded. With none of the blades did he think he could hold the bridge, so he went from there to search for one he might use, finding 3 spears and 1 sword. Each of these was better suited for war than the blades he had, and so he readied them. The war came soon to him. More and more the men of the host ran past him, until at last the brothers, Ethelred and Eadmund, brought 600 men with them, fighting a long, slow fight. In good order they came, crossing the river they went, 3 at a time, passing the roaring waters of Aglach Ulmo in safety. Slow was their going from one side to the other, and the sun was wearied by their passing. But soon only the brothers and Domnall stood at the bridge, facing hundreds of Daona opposite. In the youth's left was the shield and a spear, and in his right was another, the sword waiting on his hip. Many archers stood among their foe, and so the youth retreated then to the middle of the bridge, placing himself before the brothers. At first the Daona were content to watch the flight, for their warriors lay beyond at the siege of Teldrim. But as the 3 warriors remained upon the bridge and called curses at them, their patience wore, and they charged. The archers loosed their missiles, deadly darts flying, but the youth took these upon his shield, safeguarding the brothers. Then the Daona warriors charged them, but the bridge was wide enough only for 3 men, and thus their numbers halted. The spear of the youth flashed, swift as the salmon and shining as the sun, brushing the coming warriors to either side where the brothers were waiting. These blades struck swift also, sending the multitude into the raging waters below. Many too did Domnall slay, cutting down all those who he could not push aside. Strong are the Daona by blood. Their harsh land drove them to become a hardy people. But the Aolish are a breed set apart, made strong by the long struggles against the sea, the strange power with the Baith use for good and for ill, and their faith in the truth, which belongs to the good God only. The youth was strong beyond all others, for his faith and trust in Illulian, made invincible not from his body but from his mind. Forged as iron it was. On passed the day, until at last the weary sun lay to rest, and night came stealing over the land. The Daona tried to cross the bridge against the 3 Aolish warriors, but could not. When they charged they were beaten, and when they fell back to rest and loose arrows, the shot fell harmlessly on shields. At the fall of night, a heavy mist rose from the river below and hid them from view. The Daona retreated for fear of the sudden mist. Unable to pursue further, they retreated to take trophies from the field. Domnall and the brothers returned to the warriors which they had shepherded across the river, 600 in number. They went to the shores of the lake Aglach Salam, and there made plans for their future. The youth spoke to them there, as the waves lapped upon the shore, and half the moon's face bathed in its waters. Here, beneath the waxing moon, a few of our number are gathered, Aolish blood long held in thraldom, but freed now by war among the sea raiders. Never again, I think, shall we permit others to rule our soil. Never again shall we serve in our home. Whatever your Tella was in years now past, you have only one after this day. I will make each of you swear oaths by the moon and stars that you never serve the sea raiders again, and fight by my side until we are victorious, or we are dead. The law we set at moonlight we will endeavor to win in daylight. I do here reveal myself, Domnall, son of Sherday and Eilein, and the first Telach of this isle since Mathred's storm broke upon the shores. Trust in me, follow me, and swear to me upon your lifeblood, and we will be restored. This the warriors readily swore, for hope was once more in their hearts as they felt no longer that the bonds of thraldom were on them. Domnall named the brothers Ethelred and Eadmund as captains of war, and took the band from there, making their march by light of the moon, and travelling many more miles than their wearied feet could carry them. Each step seemed to take them 3. Soon they found themselves in the lands of the wee Agla. Domnall took them to the lake Aglach Dramorla, and there in the trees surrounding made their camp. No tiding came to them of the fate of the 2 kings, but Domnall did not wait to hear of them. A small part of the Aolish were prepared to win back their home, and nothing else had meaning to him. Spears they made, and shields also. They made homes and a small hall. They set a small wall around them, which was neither tall nor thick, but enough to give them time against attack. When these things were prepared, Domnall began to lead raids against the Daona, bringing death to those who served King Svoren Blackfingers, and in those first months they had great success, for the king had little interest in the lands of Wee Agla, having taken the western parts of the isle for his own. Into the open they could not go. To claim mastery of a part of the island was to invite the host of Svoren upon them in such numbers which they could not battle victoriously. Thus they remained in the shadow of the leaves and struck against the Daona in deadly raids. Their numbers grew as more Eolish found the way to camp beside water, and those of the Wee Agla who lived there still would bring them supplies, or flee the Daona and join them. A year they waged secret war successfully. The youth and the brothers were hailed as great warriors and captains in war. Never by full moon did Domnall lead his warriors, but always in waning did they go. On one such falling moon, a band led by the youth left the walls, prepared for violence, blades cunning and sharp readied for grim duty. Around the edge of Aglach Dramorla they went, and north to where Aglach Telocha runs to the sea, looking to spill blood far from where they slept, and there began the hunt. Not long were they in searching, coming across a group of Daona bandits hiding in the woods and planning some vengeance upon the world. The warriors of free Eoland encircled these without their notice. Well practiced were they in the hunt, waiting only for the signal of Domnall to let loose death upon the earth anew. Yet as he looked over the camp, the youth saw the captain of that small group, and was surprised, for though he had seen him only once, he knew well the face of Halvavar Brightstone, once a king of the land, reduced to the violent life of banditry. His eyes were no longer as bright as they had been when he first came to the isle, his face unshaven, lined and gaunt, his mail worn and with many holes. His axe notched lay at his side. Domnall saw this foe, and a thought came to him. He lay aside his arms, pulled his hood over his head, and walked boldly into the fire's light. His warriors would not battle without his signal given, and waited quietly in the trees. Domnall came to the fire, and the Daona leapt up, startled by the sudden stranger among them. The stranger was large and well fed, while they were ragged and hungry. He was calm while they were nervous, and easily given to fear. The warriors thought it might be a berserker, sent by Svoren to kill them, and their captain gave challenge. "Who are you, stranger, who comes in the dead of night into the den of swords? A fool you are if you think that we will not cut you down from your tall perch. Say why you have come, and we may spare you the death which waits upon the edge of our blades. It is wrong for beggars to come before men like us, for you will leave with less than you came here with. The wolves on the hunt do bark and bray to startle their prey, but before them was a beast unafraid, which paid them no mind." The youth answered the bandit king, "I am an avenging spirit of death, here to hunt those who for too long have defiled Eoland with their dark gods, and vengeance against the blood here. This land is not ruled by dark gods of your dark home, but by the good God which rules creation, who has accepted the daughter of two bloods as its guardian, home to both Eolish and the Baith. I come to you now to give you a choice. Surrender your blades and the hatred in your hearts, accepting into your hearts the truth of the land you stand in, and you shall be spared from death. Refuse, and prepare yourselves to be judged by the good God. Not one blade can touch me." The Daona, so eager for blood, were afraid of the figure looming so large over them, and slowly, hesitantly, they lowered their arms, for in the long year of their suffering they had grown to be cowards who only felt strong when their blades fell on the defenseless. The bandit king, seeing cowardice in the eyes of his men, then spoke to the stranger. Spirit of avenging power, we will do you no harm, for we are Daona blood and have learned to respect the true powers of the land before all other things. If what you say is true, then it is no wonder that we have been reduced to such a state of decrepit powerlessness. I, who have sailed from where the sun wakes to where he sleeps, was once a king of a mighty people, but am now reduced to this meager living. After the great battle where I lost my kingship, I searched for a boat that my companions and I might escape, but none were found. We were hounded through the land for so long that we had not the time to build our own dragon ship and return to our cold home. So we have been living in this squalor for too long, making little war upon the lands of the great Ring King, who rules in the city he has named Dolbin, and there set his long hall. I am tired, Spirit of Eland, far too tired to continue this life. Tell me what I must do, that I may find peace. The stranger among them spoke slowly, for beneath his hood the youth could not believe his fortune to find these warriors so eager to avoid battle, and he worked to keep joy from his voice. Warriors of Daona, sea walkers and axemen, much harm have you caused to this land, but there is hope for you. The good God is often given to love and mercy. He will forgive if you repent. I can take you to a land where you may offer your penitence, but this journey will be hard, and you may take it only if you are sincere in your remorse. You will follow me and do as I say. Reaching journey's end will find you safe in body, mind, and soul. Those who are eager for salvation follow close after me. Without further words he left, walking straight into the woods surrounding, following the path of the sun, and the bandits followed after. The Aeolish blades remained silent and returned to their sheath. No answers did he give, no word did he speak, but the youth led them through Eoland, steadily towards the city of Dolbin. At night he would lead them, walking with his steady pace as they trailed behind, fearful of sudden power from their guide. But as morning came he would leave them in some grove, launching into the sky as the rainbow bird, to sleep away from them, that they did not discover him to be a man, returning as night fell. After a week of traveling in such manner, Domnall and the Daona reached the city of Dolbin. At the sight of new walls, the youth stopped the band, and turning he spoke to them. There is an isle, not too far distant from the shores of Eoland, visible on any day but the most stormy. Its name is Scarmaline, and it was once home to the first monks of the good God to come to these people. Once, long ago, there was a wedding there, between the most wonderful people to walk this land, a powerful warrior and a teloch of our people. But at it a cursed wound, a fell demon, struck at their happiness and left many dead, including the groom. You will go to that isle. You shall bury the dead who remain in the proper fashion for both Aeolish blood and followers of the good God, which I shall teach you. Bury them, then go to the church which stands there still today, and lay bare your heart and your sins. Profess your faith in the good God. I will know if this is done. If you do as I say, then you shall sail from this land, or go to the lands around Aglach Dramorla in the east of the isle. There the warrior Domnall will take you and feed you so long as you serve him. Should you desire to live still on the isle, he will let you. I will take you as far as the waters, where you will steal a boat from Svoren's docks and to the isle. These things you will do, and earn yourself peace. The warriors were calmed as the stranger spoke to them. For warriors they were, beneath the meanness of a year of hardness, and to know the plan of battle eased them, knowing what their duty in the coming hours was. Darkness lay heavy over the world as the youth led the band to the walls about Dolbin. So long had Svoren tried to take Teldrim, which Illulian had secured with walls, that the camp he had set around in siege built homes to pass the winters, and then a great palisade to protect them. The gate was well made, but poorly guarded, for the Daona who served the king had come to no safety, and so no warriors stood watching the gate. Domnall led them to the gate, and then placed his hand on the wood, feeling the doors barred against them. He placed his mouth next to the gate, and whispered these words into Dol Bin. Ilulian Finnoan, root and bark, snow and stream, egg and bird, rain and oceans, pup and hound, child and mother, I beseech you now to break the timber which bars this gate as water breaks stones, that we might enter and deliver these warriors to our purpose. There was a rush of wind and a sharp rolling crack. The timber barring the gate broke in two, and the gate swung open on its hinges. The band rushed into the city before warriors came to check the gate, running to the waterline. They saw none on the streets, and did not have their blades drawn. At the shore they found many boats tied to new docks, and others resting on the sands. Here there were sailors, drunk and spending their coin. The band ran to a near ship on the shore chosen by Halvavar, a proud dragon ship cunningly fashioned in the old land of Daona. The warriors lifted the ship and carried it to the waters as the youth turned back those sailors who raised the alarm. Some came with knives and others with oars, but each was deftly turned away by the strong hand of Domnall. The shouts and action by the shore raised the alarm through Dol Bin, and people came from their homes to see the cause of the trouble. Domnall could tell not which were Eolish and which were Daona, and did not try to slay those against him, and when the dragon ship hit the water he ran from the mob, which chased him through the streets. He was a large and swift man, soon losing the drunks in the streets, and when they had lost him, he launched himself into the air, trusting himself to the Pluch Chara Gwyn Eolathalia, and becoming the rainbow bird once more high in the winds. Above the city he flew, spying from the winds all the homes and halls of the city, learning the home of Svorin, flying also over the inner walls, which were raised by Ilulian. There he saw many homes of light, and orchards between them, boughs laden with fruit. Men well armed and armored patrolled cunning walls against the warrior who sacked them so long ago. Seeing all below, and remembering how it was laid out, the youth turned and flew over the bay, where at the harbor the Daona were launching ships in confusion, and further was the ship crewed by Halvavar and his small band. They were cunning sailors with clear heads, vanishing over the waves before their foe could search for them. Across dark waters they went, but the Daona need not the light of the moon to sail, for they can read the stars as others read the scripture, making their way calmly across the bay to the isle Skarmeline. The youth rested upon the mast as the rainbow bird, for the next day he would have much flying to do. Dawn came stealing over the horizon, and Domnall left the mast to circle the isle. Little remained of the homes which the monks had built for their monastery, overgrown and ruined by the rain, and the church damaged by time. Upon the highest peak, where the altar once stood, was the ruined mountainside, blasted apart by Ilulian in desperate hope to deny the hunter. The dead which spoke to him in his dreams lay strewn and withered across the isle, laying where they had been slain. Above all, the boughs of Fellerin Coldara swayed lazily in the breeze, red in light through all seasons. The ship of Halvavar landed upon the isle, and the Daona leapt ashore, setting themselves quickly to the work. The 9 monks were gathered together and buried, giving them their final rest, and setting their spirits to peace, all while the rainbow bird flew over them, watching to make sure the observance was proper. Then the brave warriors of Daona obediently went to the chapel of Skarmeline and laid bare their souls, offering their remorse for all the pain they had wrought in the world, and gave themselves to serve the good God always. Many wept as they thought on all they had done for the sake of their own greed and lust. Their task complete, they returned to their ship, all save Halvavar, who went to the 9 graves and took a handful of soils from each of them and put them in separate glass jars, which were made in the far-off Purple Empire. A long day passed in labor and prayer. Halvavar took a moment to rest in the shade of the dark wood tree, pressing his ear to its bark and listening to the strange sound within. He left, and the dragon ship sailed for the Aeolish Isle, avoiding the bay and going around the peninsula which is the home of the wee Agla, entering the rough waters around Tach Balan that are rarely sailed even by the good sailors of Daona. Halvar led his ship against those waves, pressing against their fury with a calm, safe in the hands of Providence. The youth watched them only so long as to learn that they were going to stay in Eoland and fight alongside him. He then flew to the camp beside Aglach Dramorla, where he landed on his feet, dispelling the form of the rainbow bird and walking quickly to his men. He gave good news, that the fierce warrior Halvavar Brightstone would soon join their number and fight beside them. He then changed his clothes and gathered his arms before returning to the coast with a number of his warriors. The dragon ship had gone far against the powerful waves, but floundered as it drew near the shore, the ragged warriors battling at the oars as the ship groaned from the battering of the waves, trapped on a stone reef hidden in the waters. The Aeolish watched from the shore, afraid of the waves of the salt sea, unable to give aid. Yet the youth had seen much of the world, and did not fear as others do, for their fame or for their bodies. He feared only the sorrow held by another, the pain which she was made to see in every moment of every day. He feared that it would break her, that it would turn her against the living for the sake of the dead, that all this had already happened. Taking a deep breath and wincing at the smell of the sea, he entered the water. The waves hit him at once, with a power stronger than any warrior he had faced before, stronger even than the berserkers who spread death over the isle. He struggled against the surge, as waves would take his footing away and leave him battling to find it again. Slowly he made his way to the dragon ship, and when those warriors saw him they gave a cheer and threw him a line that he might pull them to shore. He grabbed it with one hand as the other searched for balance. The youth was up to his neck in the roaring waves. No step could he take that would pull the ship from where the waves battered it. He could not move the ship and bring the warriors safe to shore in the place he was, so he took a deep breath and dug his feet into the sand, sinking below the waters. Deep he dug until he was held fast in the churning waters, and only then did he pull on the rope. Hard he pulled, with all the strength of his body. Air escaping his lungs was lost in the water. He pulled still, waves crashing over him, and his body burning from the need of air. Behind him came a crushing, grinding noise which filled the water around him, a shrill shriek which waged war upon his mind and tore at his ears, but still he pulled, his vision darkening. A break came sounding from behind. The scraping ceased and the rope slackened in his hands. At the very edge of his wits he pulled his legs free of the sands and pushed himself to the surface. Darkness filling him, but before all things faded from him, he thought he saw a face beneath the water, green and furious, gaunt and hollow. He awoke on the shore. The Aeolish and Daona huddled around him. A fire warmed him, and the distant crash of the waves sounded like the screams of some wrathful creature. The men cheered when he awoke, none more than the Daona, for he had pulled them free of the stone reef. None recognized him as the stranger who had led them to Skarmeline. As he lay there, coughing seawater, the tall lord came to him and offered his hand, and spoke to him. "Hail, Domnall, Telach, I am Halvavar Brightstone, once king of a part of this isle, but I have lost all I came to possess in the wake of the Ring King Svoren Blackfingers. Hate for him I have, for cruel beyond compare is he, and when all was taken from us, we were discovered by a spirit of this land, those powerful forces which you have here. It showed us a path forward. It took us to the Isle Skarmeline, a place of truth in a world of pains. and there we learned many things of ourselves, pledging our souls to the good God above and gaining a peace for the past. Never again shall we be warriors of that kind. Now we will battle for peace only, to live in the wide green land, and to take no more than we are given. We will follow you, even to the ends of our strength. He gripped Domnall firmly by the hand and lifted him to his feet. A cheer went up among them, and they prepared to leave, turning their backs upon the sea. Yet Domnall looked back to the sea, weary of his struggle with that great foe, when he saw over the waves a ship tumbling, held firmly in the grasp of the sea. No dragon ship was this. It was large, with 2 masts proud, a large belly and tall head, looked out over the world, unwilling to cry for aid. Domnall gave a great shout. He would not permit the ship to fall into the waters so cold. The warriors rushed back to the beach and watched the ship failing, uncertain of what they had been called for. The mighty beast lay beyond the stone reef. Yet Domnall spoke to them in steady words. Warriors of 2 bloods, there in the waves lays a dying creature unlike any, and in it I think we shall find a treasure beyond all others we might find on this earth. Ready the dragon ship. We must ride into those waters and come back victorious. Spare me your worries. We will not fail if you follow me. We are tired men. I have nearly come to my death, but warriors we are, and must face war against any foe, even the sea. Ready the oars. Let us give battle. The Aeolish men were afraid, for they feared the waters. The Daona were wearied by their battle against the waves. Only at the sight of Domnall going into the waves and dragging the ship back into the waters did they come to aid him. At the oars sat both peoples. At the helm was Halvavar. At the prow of the ship giving command was the youth, his keen eyes cutting over the waters, locked upon the floundering mast of the ship. Hard into the sea they went, keen prow cutting through the raging waves. At the stone reef Domnall jumped from the boat, landing in the jagged rocks below and cutting his legs badly, but he was strong still. Placing his legs firmly to anchor him, he lifted the ship as the warriors aboard rowed harder, freeing it from the rocks. Halvavar grabbed hold of the youth as they sailed past. Hard they rowed against the sea, and before them the mighty ship fell into the water, beginning its dying. No people did they see. Swift the dragon ship reached the wreckage, flotsam and jetsam heavy in the water. Some dead there were also. In the roaring waves there was only one living soul, a man in a heavy brown robe, many papers in his hand, his hair cut in the tonsure and his face pleasant even as he swam against the sea toward shore. Below the waves the man was being pulled, something vile tugging at him, taking him beneath the water to drown him. Domnall gave a cry, calling to the man with offer of safety, but the man replied even as the water rolled over him. No safety is there between the demon which tugs at my legs to eat me in dim caves unknown to the sun, or the dragon ship of slavers before me. What is better, to die in the waves or to meet Daona warriors? You have raided to the ends of the earth. Did you not find enough gold and human misery there? Are you not sated that you must come to me to enjoy my suffering? The many men on the ship watched baffled at the man who refused aid when drowning in the sea. The youth too was silent for a time, stunned by the response, before finding his words and calling out again. Man, whatever pulls at you will give you a terrible death, but you will not have this faith if you accept our succor. This I swear, and hold my word bound by the good God, you will not come to harm with us. So odd to hear a ship of warriors who found joy in the slaughter swear by the good God. For a moment the man forgot that he was drowning, his eyes locked on the man at the prow, proud and immovable. Then he vanished beneath the waves, his arms struggling before going beneath the water. From the prow Domnall dove into the water, though he knew little of swimming and his legs had many wounds, and after him dove Halvavar. Beneath the waves the world changed. Alien weeds grew tall in the crush, tangling where the monk was being pulled deeper. The youth took a short knife from his belt and readied himself for battle beneath the water, But when he came near the weeds, shaking with struggle, there was a sudden flurry, and the monk floundered against the weeds. A long cut upon his face there was. His face panicked, but held still its dignity. In his left hand were the papers he had tried to save. The youth cut him free of the weeds and pushed him to the surface. Halvor pulling him up, Domnall struggled to rise, wearing much, and the Daona swam to him, pulling him to the surface also. As they rose through the water, both turned, for they saw movement in the weeds. Below them 3 gaunt faces, same as that which the youth had seen as he weakened in the water. They screamed in rage that their prey had escaped them, and the sound tortured the swimmers, who had remained beneath the water, writhing in pain, had not hands come into the sea, pulling them up. On the dragon ship once more the youth lay on the timbers, shaking, coughing, and being sick upon the deck. Halvor, a strong swimmer, was shaken as he had never been before when he swam in the waters, trembling on the deck. Only the man they had rescued was calm, sitting on the heaving ship, shaking dry the papers he held. The sun began to set over the wide world, and still they remained on the waters, the youth shaking and Halvor scratching at his ears. Only at the coming of night did they rouse themselves and sail back to shore. The waves rose, battering the dragon ship as it went, and the sailors struggled to keep afloat. Domnall took to bailing out the water which sloshed inside the gunwale. The rising water was a danger, but carried the ship clean over the stone reef and to the shore safely. The warriors collapsed on the sand. A long day contending against the sea was over, and they had won their rest. Domnall did not rest. The wounds on his legs, though bound well, ached, and he walked the shore restless. The man they had saved saw this and came to speak with him. "I must thank you, warrior, for whatever lies beneath the waves of this isle are cruel creatures indeed. Many men died on that ship for the error of its captain, but I think that my safety was assured by Providence. My name is Victor Baptiste, a priest born across the waters and sent to this isle to learn the state of the faith in this country. It has been many years since the Northmen began their raids, and we lost all knowledge of Eoland. When I learned that you were warriors of the good God, it gave me hope for men so forsaken that the Daona had come to understand truth. Unfortunately, my only copy of the Word has been ruined in the water. All the knowledge I had brought here is lost. Perhaps you have some, or else the power to give me ink and vellum, which would impart some wisdom to this land." Domnall stood silent for a time, awed by the calm composure and energy of Victor, a man handsome and yet without any vanity. Regaining his mind, he spoke, greatly pained by his leg. "Welcome to our isle, a land which lies in turmoil. For the Daona came, sailing from the east 5 years ago, and have come to rule this land, from mountain to sea. Most of these warriors hold to their cruel gods, and many of the faith are made thralls, while others live unaffected by the Daona, living beneath the heel of these sea raiders. I am Domnall, the final Telloch of this land, and lead the fight to reclaim it. He that swam with us today is named Halvor Brightstone, a Daona warrior king of great renown. He has left the cruel gods of his people and has seen the truth of all things, worshipping the good God. We have much need of a priest. You may live among us until we stand as masters of our own isle once more, or perish to the man." The youth left the priest to speak with Halvor, to thank him for twice saving him from the fell clutch of the sea. But as he strode up to speak, the Daona warrior stood and spoke first. "Hail, sturdy son of Eoland. You have done things today which few men do. For to battle the raging sea is to place yourself firmly in the hands of fate. I do not tempt the sea. My people are good swimmers. Yet more than that you have done today, for I know what lay in the water. They were the Banshee, a race of sea demons which seek to drown sailors in their cold homes, creatures which delight in eating entrails. You faced them and they fled, afraid though you had brought but a knife. Let all time know that I name you Domnall Sea Knife, bane to those beasts which dwell beneath the waters. No man shall ever doubt your bravery." The youth was weary, but gave a smile for this new friendship. Then he spoke in answer. "These are kind words from a man who twice saved my life this day, a man to whom ancient laws of brotherhood are owed twice. Brothers we are, from this day until our dying. I will lead you through the war which comes sure as the dawn, but you and your blood shall have nothing to fear should they turn to the good God and work with us in removing Svoren. Tell me this, brother, why do you name that darkness the Ring King?" Halvvar gave swift answer as the warriors began the walk back to the camp about Aglach Dramorla. "He is named this by the Daona and the Eolish as well, for he wears a ring on his finger, making all in his court swear by it. It is a beautiful thing, cunningly forged of twisted red gold, a proud heart crowned with 3 jewels on its face. It is said that the ring gives fortune to he who wears it. That this is true I have no doubt, for Svoren was unlucky in many things before he became king, but now he is a man blessed with fortune. He defeated an army twice the size of his. He has no trouble among the Eolish who he rules, though he is harsher than Ragnaros and I were. I know not where he got it, but I think from some witch in our cold home. But I think he will not fall until it is removed from his finger." Halvvar spoke these words, and Domnall felt the world fall away, knowing at last and beyond all doubts where the ring of Malach lay, on the hand of Svoren Blackfingers, the king ruling in Dolben, and whose word was held across much of the isle. He walked slow, and his face twisted with emotion, for now he knew at last what he was meant to do. Halvvar took this change to be the pain caused by his wounds, and did not press him further, but went to talk to his men. Back to the camp beside Aglach Dramorla they went, and the journeying of the Daona warriors was a change through the host. More aggressive were they, raiding further afield and killing more Daona warriors as they went. In this time, Domnall called for the women and children of wee Agla, who were sent away at the fall of the hall of their people, and though they returned haggard and gaunt, they were still living. The treasure they carried went to arm his warriors. Yet as they grew in their strength, so too they came to the attention of the Ring King, whose armies had grown as Daona crossed the seas bitter to sow fields in this new land. 1,000 men were sent under command of a Jarl to find and kill the bandits who troubled him so, in their company 50 berserkers. War began between them. The Daona began to raid the lands, even among those who paid tribute, the east of Eoland in flames. Yet the youth was not idle, he was a warrior. Traps he lay, and sometimes those who went forth to raid never returned. Once, a great number of them moved through the land in joyful plunder, but the youth and his warriors fell upon them and slaughtered them to a man. The dead lost their heads, and these were placed between their own legs and left to rot. This was the state of war between them, but Domnall saw chance to turn it, for the Jarl was an earthly man with a family of sons and daughters. One of these was leaving from Dolben to join her father in his war camp, not far from where Domnall had set his. Therdis was her name, no great beauty was she. Her guard held 5 berserkers, in size smaller than the youth but fiercer, their axes sharp. They went, and attendants with them, but Domnall and his warriors were waiting for them. They were well prepared with arrows and loosed from all sides. 10 dropped dead from the first volley, and a berserker also. Domnall led the charge from their hiding, a dancing spear in his hands which struck without hesitation. To the brothers Ethelred and Aedmund fell a berserker each, and Halvvar felled one also. The warriors slaughtered their way through the Daona. The cunning, flashing blade of Domnall cut through until all which stood before him was the final berserker, standing still though wounded with many arrows. In darted the spear, plunging and giving wounds deep and long. Blood flowed sluggishly to the ground as the berserker walked backwards beneath the blows. Yet he had consumed the mushroom drink, letting fly a mighty swing of his sword and catching Domnall unawares, landing a crushing blow upon his helm. To the ground fell the youth, his vision blurring, and he was sick on the earth, a trickle of blood running down his face. Wounded terribly, and running blood threatening to end his quest, Domnall pulled the limits of his strength and threw his spear. It left his hand as lightning and struck true through the eye of the warrior, who fell dead to the earth. His vision fading, Domnall took off his helm and pressed a cloth to his head. When he awoke again, he was back in the camp beside Aglach Dramorla, his head bound well, the blood dried on his face. Pain ruled his mind. The beat of his heart sent waves through him, but he had labors still that day. His warriors were gathered, each of them waiting to discover what they would do with Therdis. The youth walked slowly to them, and death waited around him. A doom sat on his word. Into the gathering he went, and all their speech ended, his pain consuming him, and he spoke to them. We went to war, we stood before death, and were victorious, as we have done many times before. We came here to kill the woman held, for her father is the Jarl sent to destroy us. Here is a chance for us to bring pain to a man who burns homes and brings such shame upon us. We went there to kill her and those with her. Her blood spilled could bring our foe to a blind rage, her blood vengeance for all we have suffered. Is that not just? He has taken from us, and we shall take from him. You have done wrong to bring her back here, for I intended that she die where we battled. Wounded though I was in that fighting, fallen before the berserker, I would have thought you would complete the task at hand. Yet I will do it here and now, before each of you, that you never doubt the war which we wage. He searched for a blade, taking a sword from one near and going slowly to where Therdis lay bound. The warriors he led turned away. This death had no honor in it. The blade was raised when a shout was given. It was the monk Victor, and he could not bear to watch as Therdis died, and so he stood up to the blade of Domnall unafraid. Stay your hand, Domnall. Do not spill this blood. I am not afraid to stand here before the blade and tell you that you are wrong to do this. Has your head wound taken all sanity from you? Are you no longer a man? There is no death of an innocent that is just. There is no death by the blade that is not a sin. The Jarl you fight will burn this isle if you harm her, and the king will laugh at the ashes. Blood will soon be the reign of our isle. What does this death give you that you need? How does blood bring us closer to freedom? You are wounded, you are in pain, you are lost in a battle you've been fighting for years, lost in a maze of blood. Your world has shrunk from the wide fields and mountain peaks to the narrowness of a blade. This is not life. This war cannot be all there is. Go back to your rest, sleep and recover. Do not waste this soul for the pain it will cause your foe. Spare it for the beauty it can gain in the years left to it. If this blade falls, you may save your people from the Daona, but you will be lost. The hand that held the blade trembled, and the youth fell into the arms of the monk Victor, weakened, weary, weeping. The blade fell to the earth, and Therdis spared. Justice was not sullied, and the truth not forgotten. The captive spoke. The blade dropped, iron forgotten. Never have I seen such an act of mercy, coming as I do from a cruel land with cruel gods, where blood is cheap. Mercy for the child of a warrior who hunts you. Great are the hearts who are moved to forgiveness and justice. I will not pray for harm to come to any of you, especially not to that brave monk, though long years I have watched their number humiliated by my kin. Here I choose to live, to learn the way of justice and mercy. It was then that the brothers Ethelred and Aedmund came forward into the gathering, afraid to confront Domnall when frenzy was on him, for they did not possess the courage to face a friend in pain that the monk had. With them came another bound, a warrior thrown to the feet of the youth, And at his humiliation the youth raised his head and gazed through a haze of pain to see Egil offered to the sword. He had been taken by the brothers, for they recognized him in their battle, and would see that their captain decided his fate. Domnall fell to the ground, and with fingers fumbling untied the knots which bound Egil, embracing his friend. Egil held him close, but spoke to him in hurried whisper. "Brother, glad I am to see you alive and well. Yet this meeting of old friends planned by fate is not a joyous one. After the battle of 3 Kings, I joined the court of Kingsfor and Blackfingers, for he knew me as a far sailor and strong warrior. I served him and well, but one night, around the fire of his mead hall, when I had drunk much, I spoke the tale of our chase through the mountains of the west, of that spear which holds darkness to it as others hold blood. The king gave me many gifts, and held me above all others, sending 20 berserkers to find the spear for him. Into the mountains they went. Only 5 returned, but they held in their hands the spear, the blade which eats souls. I have seen it used. Wotun's Bani he has named it, and when one displeases him, he presses only the very tip of the head against them and laughs as darkness consumes them, rolls over them, until nothing remains but bone. Svoren is a disease, a wound on the world. He must die that my people and yours may live in peace. To this end I will battle beside you, even until my dying. Brother, the war between the good God of creation and the cruel ones of my home has begun. I pray with all my soul that yours is victorious. Give to me my rights and let me rise a new man. Let me fight for the good that is in everyone." Domnall wept. End. Book 16. The Ring of Dane Thardwine was written and performed by Michael Frutig. If you have enjoyed this episode, please consider supporting the project on Patreon. Supporters get text files of each chapter, as well as access to Q&A posts, other writing projects, such as flash fiction and chapters of other works. Go to patreon.com/michaelfrutig for more. patreon.com/MICHAELFRUTIG. Thank you.